on? Yeah, I'm on. I started quickly. I did auto start. Well, I'll start a couple minutes early. No big deal. All right. Okay, well, we'll get started. A couple minutes early. Hello and welcome back to episode 12 of Chiefsman's Corner Live. I am your host, one of the leadership team of the WFL, Coach Winuvas of the Seattle Seahawks. I'm getting back into the swing of weekly shows, and you can tell I'm still a little bit rusty around the edges here. Just getting started a couple minutes early. Forgot to turn off auto start on my stream on my OBS side, so we got started a little early. Hope you enjoy this broadcast, a little more raw than usual. Our game plan tonight is to discuss some housekeeping notes like we did last week and look back at most of week 6 of the WFL season. I was planning on doing some stats coverage, but as usual, whenever you've got a live broadcast, something goes awry right before you get started. And Neon Sports, as far as their website, is currently down. So I'm not going to be able to do like I wanted to do on this broadcast, which is go through each and every game's stats and do some breakdowns of week 6 action. But I will go over scores and win-loss records for those teams that did play this week so far. We got a game or two still on the slate to be done tonight, possibly. If not, we will advance pretty close to advance time. If the game gets played, we will actually wait a little while, so we'll be a little later advancing if that game gets in, but we want to try and give those guys a chance to get in and play. I do have some players of the podcast. I did manage to get that before the website went down, so we will have some players of the podcast, and then we'll finish out with our usual live interactive segment. If anyone is tuned in live, if so, thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Welcome aboard. You can comment in YouTube chat, and I will have it pulled up beside the broadcast on my phone. So if you see me looking down from camera to my phone, that is what I'm looking at. I'm also looking at stats off of Neon Sports because the Neon Sports app does work right now. If you're watching the recording of this after the fact, thank you for watching. We appreciate any and all support. Without you guys, the WFL doesn't exist. I do really, really mean that. Without you guys tuning in and keep paying attention, shows like this won't happen. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching after the fact. The first thing I want to talk about tonight is, once again, the WFL's incentive plan. This plan allows you to get some perks that aren't available for every member by simply doing some extracurricular activities that involve WFL. Anything from Twitter to articles on the Neon Sports site to commenting or participating in the show. Anything that makes WFL a more immersive experience and increases its presence in the Madden community earns you some sort of credit. Link to the incentive plan is available using the command /incentive plan. That's all one word, /incentive plan in Discord. INCENTIVEPLAN, all one word. The second thing to talk about is our form Ask the Chief. Use this form during the week between episodes to submit any questions you have for me, and I'll answer them during the show, giving you credit for the question. Easy way to build up incentive points and provide extra content for the podcast. Use the command /AskTheChief, all one word, Ask the Chief, to pull up the form in Discord. With our housekeeping out of the way, we're going to recap some scores from Week 6 action and highlight our offensive and defensive players of the podcast. And this is where I have to go to my phone because, I do not have access to the to Neon Sports right now. So here we go. Scores as we got it. This is updated as of the last game to play, which was the Panthers and Rams later this afternoon, probably about 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern time, somewhere around there. So week 6 games, we have Indianapolis going to 5-1, overtaking the lowly CPU Jaguars. 34-6 was the final there. We have Minnesota getting to 5-1 on the season over a very tough Miami Dolphins team led by Coach Ross. Miami falls to 4-2 on the year in a 10-7 defensive slugfest. I did get a chance to look at some of those stats that I remember offhand. Lots of interceptions in that game, so it definitely was a defensive secondary pickoff battle, so to speak. No score for New England and Cleveland. No score for Denver and the Chargers. The Green Bay Packers, defending WFL Bowl champion Green Bay Packers, get a win at home over the Jets, who fall to 500 at 3-3 on the year. 34-17 was the final there. A wild overtime game with the Washington Commanders and the Chicago Bears. Washington goes to 4-2 on the season with a 37-31 overtime win over Chicago, who falls to 3-3 on the season. San Francisco and Atlanta did not get a chance to play. Dallas at Philadelphia did not get a chance to play. The Giants go to 4-2 on the season with a 22-14 victory over the Baltimore Ravens, who are really struggling on offense right now, trying to figure out the new Madden, I guess, for lack of a better term. We'll talk a little bit about some of these defeated teams and try and get some insight into them as we move forward here. Buffalo and Kansas City are yet to play. They were supposed to play this evening. Not sure if they're on the way yet. Carolina and the Rams, that's the last game we had on the docket officially. Carolina moves to 4-2 on the season with a last-second field goal. 16-13 was the final over the Rams, who fall to 3-3 on the season. Seattle moves to 4-2 on the season with their first user victory. Most of my victories or losses have been my losses have been user-based, and my victories have been Sims due to disconnect issues. 27-0 was the final here over the 0-6 Cardinals. Cardinals are a lot better than 0-6. I will give them some credit. Had some tough luck in this game with fumbles. I believe I recall 3, maybe 4 fumbles and a couple of picks, but mostly the fumbles is what got him. Killed a couple of drives and just made it really tough to get anything done. One moment, please. Hate live broadcast, but I have animals. That's what happens when you're by yourself and you have animals that want to go outside. You have to get up and you can't pause a live broadcast. All right, so 27-0 again. Seattle moves to 4-2 on the year. It's an inflated record. Don't get any big thoughts about it. Tampa Bay moves to 6-0 on the season with a 52-7 beatdown of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tough game for Pittsburgh there. A solid game overall for Tampa Bay. They had 4 interceptions. I believe they had 4 pick sixes in that game. Pretty good game overall. Cincinnati moves to 4-2 on the season with a 13-10 hard-fought win over the Saints. Saints are a very good football team on defense. Good defensive squad. More than likely was a tough contest there. But Bengals squeak out a victory and move to 4-2 on the season. 13-10 was your final. So with that being said, let me bring back up my podcast as far as the live chat. Don't see anybody there. Yeah, I know I got a little early start, so maybe some people missed out. That's okay, though. All right, so let's see. Let me bring up my questions. Or actually, no. First things first, offensive and defensive player of the podcast. Normally, I don't give myself an offensive or defensive player of the podcast, but I was looking at some of the possible candidates of games played to the point where I could get stats, and unfortunately, everybody else on this list is better than me, and I usually try to give shout-outs to teams that don't have very good offensive or defensive performances. When they come out with one, I like to kind of give them a shout-out, give them a little boost. So I'm going to give myself a boost. Seahawks halfback Kenneth Walker III, 17 carries, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns in that 27-0 win against the Cardinals. A lot of those yards, excuse me, came in the second half. When we were basically just running the ball. There was no throwing going on. We pretty much were advertising run every play. Kenneth Walker was getting some tough yards along with Rashad Penny to basically kind of grind the clock down and get that clock down to 0 in that 27-0 win. Some honorable mentions, though. Giants tight end Daniel Bellinger, 3 catches, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns in a 22-14 win against the Ravens. Tyreek Hill had 7 catches for 126 yards for the Dolphins in their 10-7 loss to the Vikings. Packers tight end Robert Tonyan had 6 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown in a 34-17 win over the Jets. Commanders quarterback Carson Wentz was probably the true honorable mention here. 36 of 51, 410 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions in a 37-31 overtime thriller win against the Bears. And then Commanders tight end Logan Thomas in that game had 8 catches of Carson Wentz's 36 completions for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. Defensively, player of the podcast, I didn't give it to me this time, even though I did have some guys on the blog that were good candidates as far as stats go. I did give it to Bears strong safety Eddie Jackson, who had 6 tackles, 2 interceptions, one of them being a pick 6 in that 37-31 overtime loss. Unfortunately, they did not pull out the W, but Eddie Jackson was not the reason that they lost that football game. Honorable mentions, excuse me, Bucs outside linebacker Shaquille Barrett. Yeah, then don't give it to yourself. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to give it to myself because everybody else on the list is better users than I am. Cly, thank you very much. Honorable mentions, Packers strong safety Adrian Amos had a tackle, 2 interceptions, one of them being a pick 6 in that 34-17 victory against the Jets. Bucs outside linebacker Shaquille Barrett had 3 tackles and 2 sacks in that 52-7 rout over the Steelers. Giants cornerback Darnay Holmes, there's you a shout-out, Cly. 2 interceptions in a 22-14 win over the Ravens. And then 2 Seahawks players to round out the list. I didn't give them the player of the podcast. They're honorable mentions. Seahawks cornerback Sidney Jones IV, 2 interceptions, one of which made his development trait go up. Yay, development trait. And then Seahawks outside linebacker Alton Robinson gets a tackle, sack and a half and 2 tackles in that shutout of the Cardinals this past week. So I was planning on going through some stats. Again, with Neon Sports being down, I couldn't really go through the stats, so I'm a little bit handcuffed there. So the show will be a little shorter than I was anticipating. Oh, okay. Something going on in chat. My bad. All right, so let me bring up the podcast Ask the Chief questions, and we'll kind of zoom in on them a little bit, or we'll try to zoom in on them a bit. Maybe we won't. Who knows? Okay, I'll just read them from here. Whatever. All right, so question from, let me go ahead and de-highlight these from last week's show, so that way we'll not delete them, but just darken them out. Boom. All right, so Rusta Busta has a couple of questions for the podcast. Question number 1, what is your too early playoff predictions for both the NFC and AFC this first season? Okay, well, that's an interesting question to knock out. Let's just go ahead and do a way too early prediction show. I would bring it up on Neon Sports. Let me see if Neon Sports is back up. If it is back up, I'll bring it up on Neon Sports. If it is not, I will do it on my phone. I was kind of hoping. Yep, it's still down. Bad gateway. I need to get that fixed. That's a network issue. It's not on my end. All right. So let's bring it up on my phone one more time. Give me just a second. Bear with me just a little bit, folks, because I'm having to do this off of my phone. All right, so NFC, AFC predictions, too early predictions. Let's take a look-see at races here. So I'm scrolling down. Let's take a look-see at, we'll do AFC first. In the North, it looks like it's Cleveland or Cincinnati. It's a coin flip for who's going to win the division there. I like Cincinnati's weapons. So I'd probably take Cincinnati there over Cleveland. I think Cleveland will make a wild card, though. In the South, it's really the Colts division to lose right now because with Jacksonville not having an owner, they're pretty much going to get to the bottom of the standings. Tennessee will pick up some wins and be a tough out going to the end of the season. Houston's been a tough out all season long, which is good for them because they've had a dearth of talent, but they've managed to, they're above 500 right now, which is commendable. So I say Indianapolis out of the South, and that's probably going to be it. I may go back. I'm kind of scrolling through division by division here. AFC East. Oof, that AFC East is tough. It's hard to go against Buffalo with all that talent on paper. Miami, though, I know Coach Ross. I know he's a tough out, so I wouldn't doubt him to be in the playoff race. With Big Hurt taking over, I wouldn't be surprised if him being in the playoff race with New England. And with Kobe and the Jets, I wouldn't be surprised with the Jets. I wouldn't be surprised if the entire AFC East makes the playoffs. 3 wild cards. I would not be surprised at all. That would cut Cleveland out. But with I know 3 of the 4 owners pretty well from previous experience. I don't know Al Qaeda 822. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. Sorry if I am. But he's got the team undefeated, so he's got to be doing something right there. So I'm guessing, if I had to guess, and then at the West, I'm going to lean, it's got 2 0-5s, you got 2 3-2s, Las Vegas and Steve, a.k.a. La Migra versus Banshee Man and the Chiefs. Las Vegas has a good bit of weapons, but so does KC. I'll go KC. I want to go with my boy in the Raiders. I want to go with Lamigra because he's having a good season, and he rarely does, and he'll say that himself. Early on, he's having a good season. I think he'll still have a good season. I just don't know if he'll be able to do enough to keep out the AFC East, because that AFC East is a beast, just like the NFC East I think is. So yeah, my AFC playoff prediction right now would be Cincinnati in the North, Indy in the South, Buffalo in the East, Kansas City in the West. Those are the champs. Wild cards would be Miami. I'm gonna say the Jets. And you know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna go ahead and say the Raiders is my third wild card. I would say Cleveland, but I'm gonna say Raiders as a hope. I'm kind of hoping for them. I'm rooting for them on that side. NFC, the North is a lot tougher with Rimster there now, moving over from New England to the Vikings. They're leading that division right now, but the champs, Meek Boy, is right there. The Packers at 4-2. The Bears with Smash are tough. They're tough out, 3-3. You could easily see 3 guys from that division. Obviously, Detroit's a CPU team, so that's going to be that's not going to make it. It's 0-5 right now. So I'd say Minnesota probably right now has the inside track just because of the win-loss, but that's not taking anything away from those other 2 teams. It's going to be a dogfight. In the South, it's Tampa Bay's to lose. I mean, all he does is win. I mean, you can like it or not like how he does it, but he wins. Carolina's 4-2 and giving him a fight. New Orleans is a new owner. Studley's trying to get that rebuild going, so he's kind of dragging feet a little bit, but he's trying to get some young players, getting some reps in. So look for him to have a high draft pick and get that team going in season 2. But I think he's kind of just trying to cash in for those high draft picks and hopefully get some wins. I'm sure you should want to get some wins. So Tampa in the South and maybe Carolina the East. Maniac's had a tough go in Dallas starting out. He's 1-4, but he could easily turn it around. If the light goes on for Maniac, look out. I'm just going to tell you right now. If the light goes on for Maniac, he is going to be in and out consistently. He's going to be a tough guy to get a W against if he can figure out this Madden. He's kind of had some issues figuring out. He finally got himself a W. I don't remember against who offhand, but he finally got himself a W to put him at 1-4 on the year. So that first W is always the hardest one to get. And once you get it, you can get it steamrolling, especially if you're a good player, and I know he is. Waffles in Washington is a good player. Cly in New York is a good player. Ches KE is a good player in Philadelphia. All of those teams could easily make the playoffs. Right now, I don't think Dallas will, but if Maniac turns it on, I think he could. And in the West, I feel bad for Arizona because he's a good guy, but he's 0-6, so he's kind of out of it at the moment. But again, we could all falter, and he could have a good win streak. San Francisco early on is the favorite with that talent on defense. Seattle, it's me. I'm gonna falter. If I have a track record of dying at the end. I've had a playoff position with 2 weeks to go, and had to the only way I lose it is to lose the last 2 games. And guess what I did? I lost the last 2 games. If anybody knows the word choke, I know it. So I don't put myself in there. The Rams, that defense is stout, and that offense has enough playmakers on it to get the job done. He had a tough loss against Carolina earlier today, but I think he could stay around 500. He could have a chance in that division. So in the NFC, I would say in the North, Minnesota and Green Bay make the playoffs. I might just have to put Chicago on the outside looking in just barely. South, I think Tampa Bay and Carolina potentially. But that third wild card is going to be a toss-up between Carolina, between Chicago, and between the Commanders or Giants. And I like the Commanders and Giants over Carolina and Chicago. So my division winners in the NFC would be Minnesota, Tampa. I'm going to say the Giants because I know him. And I'm going to say the 49ers because they've gotten off to a hot start, but it still is anybody's division there. I'm going to say 49ers early on. Wild cards will be Philadelphia, Washington, and Green Bay. So not to knock anybody out, but that's it's way too early predictions. That's what they're supposed to be. All right, let's see. Next question on the docket is, What current undefeated team do you feel will lose first? Well, there's only 2 undefeated teams left, so this makes my decision a little easier. It's either Tampa Bay or it's Buffalo. And the way Tampa Bay is playing, I don't see them losing a game very soon, so I'm going to say Buffalo. No knock against the player or against the coach, but Tampa Bay has been running roughshod over folks, almost to the point of embarrassment, which is another topic we'll have a discussion for another day. But all he does is win, and right now I don't see anybody stopping him on that victory tree. So, of the 2 teams undefeated, Buffalo's going to lose first. I mean, that's kind of an easy one. So I like easy ones sometimes; they're good. Next question, also from Rusty Buster. He loaded me up some questions before this podcast. What teams will get home field advantage this first season of the playoffs? So we go from playoff predictions to home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Well, I tell you what, let's leave it to the teams that are currently undefeated. Buffalo and Tampa. That's easy enough, right? I think Tampa in the NFC. I think in the AFC, though, home field throughout, I feel like Indy will pull it out. Indy Juke is really, really good. And if he can get that run game with Jonathan Taylor rolling, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And in this Madden where passing is basically secondary to the run game, having a good running back and a good offensive line is key, and he has both of those things. So I would give it actually to Indy over Buffalo and Tampa, and just because I've seen the guy, I've watched a couple of his streams. He is almost methodical and robotic, so I don't see anybody really giving him a challenge to that home field advantage. Do I hope somebody does? Yeah, but right now it's Tampa's to lose. So that does it for that question. Last question on the docket, and this is going to be the one that I'm about to do some research on the phone. Most surprising rookie so far. Oh boy, you would ask me that on a day where I can't look up hardly anything. Let's see, filters, rookies only. Let's see, is that, no, I'm looking up stats. I need to look up, no, I don't want to look up, let's see. More stats, thank you. No, not standings, I could look that up on my phone. So, bear with me, I'm trying to pull up stats, I have fat fingers. Leaders, can I do a filter for rookies only? Yeah, rookies only, no, not reset filters, rookies only. Close that. Okay, so let's see. Surprise rookies so far, or just one surprising rookie? Most surprising rookie so far. Well, unfortunately, with the way quarterbacks are in this game, it's hard to put a quarterback up there. I tell you who I will put up there, though. And it's somebody I gave some attention to and some love to on the last podcast. Let me just scroll through here and make sure I'm not missing anybody super off the chain. I'll give an honorable mention, too. Mainly because I'm looking... I'll do an offensive and defensive player, if you don't mind. That question said most surprising rookie. I'm going to do one on both sides. On offense, I'm going to say Dameon Pierce, Houston's running back. He's got 5 games played, 609 yards, and 5 touchdowns to lead all rookies. I'm not sure where he's at in the league, but I'm pretty sure that's up there pretty high. I'm just got rookie stats up right now, so bear with me on that one. Honorable mention, though, I'm going to give to Christian Watson, Green Bay Packers. He's got 6 games in the docket. He's got 530 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns on the year. Defensively, how do I want to do this? You know what? Can I give some love to... Yeah, there we go. Let's give some love to some sack guys. He's injured, though. Let's see. What about interceptions? That's kind of ridiculous. Ooh, my guy's in the top 3. Yay. Okay, cool. I would love to give a shout out to my guy, but I'm not going to. Let's see, tackles. What do we got for tackles? Here we go. This kind of emphasizes what I like to shout out here. I'm going to give a shout out to Troy Anderson. He's got a middle linebacker for the Falcons. He's got 31 tackles and 3 interceptions in 5 games played for an 0-5 team, leading the league in tackles for rookies, and also pretty much top 5 or tied for top 5 in interceptions. So that's pretty impressive coming from the middle linebacker position. And I will also give a shout out to Kayvon Thibodeau for the Giants, who has 11 tackles and 4 sacks to lead the league in sacks through 5 games played for rookies. So there would be my most surprising players on offense and on defense for the WFL early on. We still got time to go. Let's see. What kind of chat do we have here? Okay. Maniac, my mad nemesis. Damian Pierce. He leads the entire league in rushing. See, I didn't have that pulled up. I only had the stats for rookies pulled up. So forgive me for not saying he led the league. I was pretty sure he was up there with those numbers. But my guy's in the top three. Kenneth Walker, thanks to getting a third of his numbers in this past game. He has been dog doo-doo for the first couple of weeks thanks to CPU. And also my boy Tariq Woolen, the speed demon. He's got 3 picks on defense, so that's good for me too. Let's see. With the Madden update possibly on hold, do we plans on stopping the league until the update is out? No. To answer it mildly. Unless the update requires a restart to repair everything, which, quite frankly, if it does, EA needs to go back and refund everybody who paid for this game. Point blank. They won't, I know, but if they make us do a restart for all the, forgive the language, shit that they've put out with franchise since the game has launched, the most polished Madden in years, might I add, then we deserve a refund. We shouldn't have had to pay for this horse shit if that requires a restart 2 months in. The game has been out for almost 2 months, and so basically you're telling us we should have waited 2 months to play a mode that's supposedly the most popular mode on the thing. No. If we have to restart, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Personally speaking, I'm about burned out on restarts. I don't know about the rest of you. It took 4 or 5 restarts to get to where we are now. And we still have issues, but we, knock on wood, you may have heard that on the microphone. I'm knocking on the tray I have my stuff sitting on. We haven't had much of issues yet. That doesn't mean that we won't have one tonight, probably, just because I jinxed it. But yeah, if we have to restart, that's a morale drain. I'm going to be honest. That's a morale drain for everybody involved. So yeah, I'm hoping we don't have to restart, man. But if we do, again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We're going to keep playing and plugging until we're told otherwise, or until I see otherwise, the evidence that all the franchise fixes require a restart. To me, that's bullshit if that's the case, but if it is, it is. Yeah, I know. I saw on the injury, I saw he was injured. I didn't know how long, though, because on the Neon Sports site, it does show me injured, but it doesn't show me how long unless I tap on it. So, but yeah, I did notice that. But, I mean, for being hurt, he's still leading the league in sacks as a rookie, or for rookies, I should say. So I know he's not leading the league because, I mean, Yannick Ngakoue last week had 4 sacks in 1 game, so kind of redonkulous. But yeah, I don't think I have any more questions popping up from chat. So I see 5 people in here, so appreciate you jumping on and listening. It was a bit of a rough start because I hit the wrong button and started the stream and didn't realize I had started the stream until a minute in. So if you watch the first minute of this, it looks like an amateur did it because they did. But I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. So yeah, we'll go ahead and just drop that. If I see any questions pop up right after the outro, I'll answer them. But I think I've answered everything between the Ask the Chief forums and between chat. Yeah, I think we're pretty well done with this. So we'll go ahead and do the outro. All right. So I want to say thank you to you guys for tuning in. A few people tuned in live. If you tune in after the fact and watch this after the fact, still appreciate you, even though you're tuning in after the fact. I appreciate it. The WFL appreciates it, and we hope you're entertained by the podcast. Let us know if we're doing a good job by giving us a like, throw a subscribe on us, leave comments. Any feedback, good or bad, is appreciated. I'm a big boy. I know this is not the most expertise thing in my palette, but I do what I can. Hopefully you guys appreciate it. Let me know with any sort of feedback, and we'll adjust as we need to going forward. Until next Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern time, folks.